Before this video starts, I just want to give a massive shout out to all my channel members. If you want to receive a shout out, then become a channel member today and you'll be shown on screen like all these other channel members here. Anyways, enjoy the video. On November 13th, version 13.0 dropped in the Japanese version and dropped on December 11th for the other versions. This update contains a lot of content and I want to talk about everything that was added in this version. Since we have loads to cover, all I ask is if you enjoyed this, give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and comment what was the most exciting thing about this update was for you. Anyways, we have loads to cover. Our first new unit is Gourmand Ninja Girl Tomo, who is a new Uber for the Monster Gals. This unit has a 50% chance to freeze traitless and Aku enemies and has a multi-hit that activates twice. Her standing range is 420 and her range for her first attack is from 1 to 421 range and her second hit is from 550 to 850 range. Her damage is different between her multi-hits. Her first multi-hit deals 24,480 damage while the second is 12,240 damage. She is also surge immune. This unit is a bit funky. She corners a niche of being a dedicated anti-traitless Uber that not many have, and can be super useful for the early game, but as you progress further into the game, her use mainly gets shifted to being an anti-Aku Uber. However, her really low damage stat means that if you intend on using her as a crowd control unit on some Aku stages, shield piercing is gonna be needed. Her surge immunity allows her to survive the death surge. Her surge immunity is also super useful for the Cappy twins, since she outranges both of them. Her LD does cause her to have a blind spot of 422 to 549, meaning that most backliner, Aku, and traitless enemies are safe from her attack. Her freeze up time is about 50%, lasting for 3 seconds, but keep in mind that she has a 50% chance to freeze, meaning that she'll only freeze on average every 12 seconds. This could be an issue if you are facing an exceptionally aggressive foe. While her uptime isn't the best, her targets are somewhat niche, especially her traitless targeting, meaning that she gets more value due to her targeting a trait that doesn't have many dedicated counters to when it comes to Uber rares. The second unit, currently exclusive to the Japanese version, is Great Metal King Cat, a unit who was obtained from the House of the Metal King Cat gacha from the 11th anniversary event. This unit can slow all non-treasure traits for 1 second or 1.2 seconds against all treasure traits. This unit also summons a level 1 surge from 150 to 600 range, and if the surge lands on their target, the slow time goes to 1.5 seconds against treasureless traits or 1.8 seconds for treasure traits. This unit could have been a decent melee slower if it weren't for one thing, this being their absurdly long cooldown of 31.2 seconds. This long cooldown kills this unit's ability to be disposable, and for the stats that they have and their rather short slow time, this unit is mainly for the early game when you lack any sort of crowd control, but once you get further into the game, this unit becomes nothing more than user rank or labyrinth food. In this update, there are 2 new true forms. The first being Frost Spirit Kai, the true form of Frosty Kai. She gains an 88% boost to her health, going from 88,400 health to 166,600 health. This effectively makes her health against her targets go from 442,000 health to 833,000 health. She also gains a slight attack boost, going from 42,000 damage to 51,000 damage. Last is her speed boost, going from 15 to 20 speed. While she doesn't receive any immunities, her massive boost to her health makes her finally be able to function as a melee tank against angels and aliens. Her slight damage buff is also neat, and her speed boost allows her to reach the front line more easily. A simple but good true form, she requires 3 blue, yellow, and epic cat fruit to true form. Second is Esoteric Earl, who I already have a full video on in which I go into a detailed review on this new true form, but to give a short rundown, he gains a ton of abilities. He is now able to target Aku, Curse for 2 seconds, gain Surge Immunity, Behemoth Slayer, and most importantly, the Strong ability. Earl gains a 30% boost to his base health, and along with the Strong ability, makes him a defensive powerhouse against his targets. He also gains a 50% boost to his damage, and in conjunction with this Strong ability, can easily shred through many Relic and Aku enemies. This true form fixes the one issue Earl had and adds so much more on top of it. Before, when Earl was a good crowd controller, his damage output wasn't the best, but now this issue is fixed. The extra additions weren't even needed, but they decided to make an already good legend unit enter the ring for the top 5 legend units. This true form will make 4-star UL so much easier because Relic and Aku are the 2 dominant traits across UL, and the fact that Earl can now shred through most of them makes a ton of levels trivial. Now for the big thing this new update adds, the Ultra Forms. 4th forms currently exclusive to Uber Rares. I also have a video going over my initial thoughts about the Ultra Forms added into this update, but I will go over them here as well, and as I've used these units, my opinion has shifted slightly somewhat. In order to unlock them, you will need the required evolution materials and have the Uber at level 60 and 2 million spare XP. All talents unlocked from their 3rd form are kept when in the 4th form. The first of the new Ultra Forms is Phantasmal Nobunaga, who gains a 44% boost to his health, now having 176,000 health. He also increases his knockback count from 1 to 2 and is the first unit to have the counter surge ability. He also targets Aku enemies along with his previous black targeting. Nobunaga is easily able to permafreeze a new trait, making enemies like Akugori and Condemned Pang much easier to handle, but do note the lack of shield piercing. Their counter surge is mainly to help deal with the death surge so many Aku enemies have. This ability gives Oda a double-edged sword, as while Oda can dish out a lot more damage if it hits the right spot and possibly shutting down the entire field, it comes at the cost of some of his health. This is more noticeable when dealing with stronger surges from enemies like Condemned Pang and Fallen Bear. However, the main issue doesn't necessarily come from this unit's kit, as this kit is actually pretty good, but rather the cost required to get it. In order to get this Ultra Form, you need a red, purple, and blue Behemoth Gem along with 3 Aku Cat Fruit. The second Ultra Form is Ascendant Dioramos. He gains an 8% boost to his health, going from 435,000 health to 473,000 health. His attack is also now split into a multi-hit. His first attack deals 115,200 damage and is from 1 to 411 range. The second and third hits deal 32,000 damage and is split across 200 to 500 range and 290 to 590 range respectively. He also gains alien targeting, making his barrier breaker ability much more useful. Dioramos isn't really known to be a good Uber, but this new form finally helps break that spell. Dioramos now becomes a mid-range destroyer, as all 3 attacks land between 290 to 411 range, dealing 179,000 damage with 17k DPS pre-talents. If you decide to fully invest into his attack and strength and talents, you can get this number all the way up to 31,000 DPS, which gives him one of the highest generalist DPS values in the game. However, outside this mid-range area, this DPS value is closer to 25k DPS, which is still pretty insane. However, due to the nature of the 4th form requiring so much investment, is this Ultra Form worth it? Compared to the other 2 Ultra Forms, Dioramos has a rather cheap material cost, taking 2 yellow Behemoth Stones, 5 blue Behemoth Stones, and 5 yellow and blue Cat Fruit. If you don't have any powerful generalist Ubers or love Dioramos that much, then I would say this is worth the investment, but I mainly say this because the evolution material cost is relatively cheap. The last and easily the best of the new Ultra Forms is Ultimate Windy, whose absurd buffs easily make her the best anti-floating Uber in the game. She gains a boost to her range, going from 450 to 510 range. While this is only relevant for outraging Loki and Calamari, this allows her to stay further away from most floating enemies. She also gains a slight speed boost, going from 12 speed to 16, allowing her to reach the front lines faster. Her biggest buff, however, is switching her massive damage to insane damage against floating enemies. Before any talents are even factored in, she now deals 778,000 damage against floating enemies with 70k DPS. However, if we factor in her attack talents and if she's strength boosted, these numbers climb to an absurd 1.4 million damage, being able to one-shot a majority of floating enemies, if not two-shotting them. 127,000k DPS against floating enemies is absurd, yet here she is. Notable floating enemies she can two-shot include Tarawa Hazuku, Manic Flying, Golem Sunfish, and just misses out on two-shotting Meta Filibuster and Mecha Bun. While the other 2 Ultra Forms may not be worth the investment, Ultimate Windy is. If you want to make an entire trait's worth of enemies irrelevant with 1 unit, invest in her. Her 4th form requires 2 green Behemoth Gems, 5 yellow Behemoth Stones, and a gold Cat Fruit. 2 units gain talents in this update, these being Orbital Annihilator Ragnarok and Jester Queen Dale, who both gain the standard attack and defense talents. Ragnarok gains the survivability, increasing by 10% per level, curse immunity, and a cooldown reduction of 2 seconds per level up to a 20-second shorter cooldown. Curse immunity is super useful, as it allows him to finally be useful against more relic enemies, since he is no longer shut down by curses. The survivability is mainly useful if you want to give Ragnarok an extra knockback. The cooldown reduction talent, while it seems long, just reduces this cooldown from about 3 minutes to 2.5 minutes. Pretty neat for longer battles, but most of the time it isn't really needed. Jester Queen Dale gains Weaken and Wave Immune talents, along with a boost to her knockback chance, up to a 60% knockback chance at talent level 10. Her knockback talents make her more consistent when keeping angels and aliens at bay. Her Wave Immunity is super useful for several enemies, like Bun Bun Symbiote and Yukan. Her generalist stats can also make her a useful backline Wave Immune attacker if you lack options, or just want another Wave Immune attacker. Her Weaken immunity is mainly useful for Winged Piggy, but anything that makes this enemy easier to deal with is a win in my book. One new unit gains Ultra Talents this update, this being for the Peach Devils. They gain a 100% chance to mini-wave, wave immunity, and a 40% chance to knock back their targets. If you want to give these guys a 20% damage and DPS boost with slight pierce damage, the mini-wave is kind of neat. Wave immunity is mainly for Berserkari, and their damage output isn't the best, so unless you really need a wave immune unit, you can avoid investment into this talent. The knockback is also neat, but nothing really special. This unit's ultra talents aren't anything too special, so you don't need to worry about them. For this update, there is only one enemy that is relevant for versions outside of the Japanese version, this being Esoteric Earl, a relic counterpart to Earl who has an increased surge level, slows your units for 2 seconds, and has a larger Omni Strike, going from -400 to 450 to -400 to 550. While his health stat is higher than the original Earl, the fact that you have many anti-relic units for when you should be facing him means he can die faster than regular Earl. As for the rest of the enemies, these are all for the 11th anniversary event, and for these, we have 2 bases, one of them being a scarecrow, and a new cake enemy. As for the other 2 enemies, you have the Doge God, who despite appearing like our mighty cat god, is a very weak metal enemy. They only have 20 health and deal a pitiful 3 damage across 3 multi-hits. The second Doge variant is somewhat more threatening, this being Secret Doge. This enemy has 100,000 health and deals 500 damage. While they have a standing range of 200, they have an Omni Strike from -540 to 540 and can freeze every unit for 1.3 seconds. This enemy is pure support but can somewhat be challenging for mid-game players thanks to their constant freezing. The new subchapter added is Demon of Decelerator Bay, but before we get into the new stuff, we have new UL stars. 4 stars available for Bazaar of the Pirate King and Between Truth and Lies. The first level is Pursuit of Understanding, which contains a ton of Sinner Snatches, Condemned Pangs, Mini Angel Cyclones, and Medusans. Then we have the Pythagorean Tributary, which has some Doge Darks, Akugoris, a Toucan, and Black Cyclone serving as the boss. 1 + 2 = Tor has Mooths, Lil Bunbuns, Mini White Cyclones, Authums, Teacher Bunbuns, and a Golem Sunfish. Sign Cosine Mine has some big sows as well as those guys, Cerberus Kids, Trolley Bloggers, and the Thriller Spam, with Variety Bears serving as the main boss of the level. Isosceles Valley contains Gabriels, Ultra Babas, Helmet Crabs, a Sunfish Jones, Winged Piggy, an Angelic Gory, and Mini Angel Cyclone. Last is the Farthest Point, containing Croco, Mr. Mole, Mega Baba, JJ Jackrabbit, and 3 Bakus serving as the boss. This update adds 10 new floors to the Infernal Tower. These levels are similar to their Heavenly Tower counterparts, but now have a heavier focus on Aku and Relic enemies. For this section, I will just talk about the enemy changes made to each floor. Floor 41 adds Devil Wives, Sorels, and Akis. Floor 42 replaces the Angelic Cyclone and Zyklone with the Aku Cyclone and Primeval Cyclone. Floor 43 replaces the Ultra Babas, Corporal Waylands, and Zangroos with Relic Doges, and Authum and Emost. Floor 44 replaces Gory Black with Aku Gory, as well as adding Aku Doge, Condemned Pang, and Wicked Cat. Floor 45 swaps out Douche and Dachshund for Wicked Tank and Old Horn, as well as adding Sorels. Floor 46 replaces the Shy Boys with Goku Rakus, as well as adding Ginger Snatches, Relic Doges, and Loris. Floor 47 replaces the Owl Bros, Takis, and Brawlos with Ms. Devils, Akis, and Condemned Pangs. Floor 48 replaces the Mercury Sloth with Midnight D, and Aku Doge replaces the Metal Doges, as well as the addition of a Wicked Axe. Floor 49 replaces the Heavenly Tower bosses with their relic counterparts, as well as adding Aku Goris into the fight. Last is Floor 50, the level in which you fight Esoteric Earl. His support includes Devil Wives, Sorels, Trolley Bloggers, Sinner Snatches, Condemned Pangs, and Aku Doges. The rewards for floors 41, 44, and 47 are a singular dark cat's eye. Floors 42, 45, and 48 reward 10 cat CPUs. Floors 43, 46, and 49 reward 5 of any catament, and floor 50 rewards 3 dark cat's eyes. For the last levels added that aren't a part of the 11th anniversary event, we have new Christmas levels that drop some behemoth stones. Red Purple Present is balanced towards early game players, being able to reward up to 2 purple and red behemoth stones from score rewards. Blue Green Present is balanced towards Into the Future Chapter 3, dropping up to 2 green and blue behemoth stones from score rewards. Last is Yellow Present, balanced towards late Stories of Legend to early Uncanny Legends, and dropping a singular yellow behemoth stone as well as a rare ticket from score rewards. Since the 11th anniversary stages aren't relevant for most versions, I will just throw up the most relevant stages on screen so you can get an idea as to what these stages are. For the miscellaneous changes and additions, the rewards for Tornado Carnivals 1, 2, and 3 have been nerfed, only giving 2 cat tickets instead of 3. All of the Malevolent Cat stages have had their base health updated so that they're now all at 2.5 million health. On screen now are all the old values of each base health. Greenstone Desert has been nerfed, reducing the Sorrel count from 6 to 4, reducing the Ariant count from 3 to 2, and reducing the Cadaver Bear count from 3 to 2, as well as nerfing the Cadaver Bears from 350 to 300% magnification. There is one new Meow Medal, and this is for completing the 50th floor in the Infernal Tower. Other things added are a new cat combo called Go to Hell. This combo features Hell Commissioner Emma, Harbinger Cat, and Awakened Mina. This combo is a weaken large, increasing the weaken duration by 30%. Lastly is the new user rank rewards, in which user rank 16,001 increases the level cap for Super Feline from plus 80 to plus 90, giving us a level 110 Super Feline. User rank 21,300 gives 5 Catamid Bs, 21,400 gives 5 Catamid Cs, and 21,500 gives 10 cat CPUs. Now, this update has changed what it means to be a final form, with the main highlight being the Ultra forms. However, I feel if that they want to make more of these forms a common thing, Dark Cat's Eyes need to become way more accessible. This is still a problem with units that have Ultra Talents. Because of the limited source of Dark Cat's Eyes, the talents actually need to make them top tier to be worth the investment. But those are my thoughts on the main addition of this update. How do you guys feel about this update? Well, let me know in the comments down below, and while you're down there, be sure to give this update analysis video a like, and if you enjoy what you see here, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, as this lets me know that I should continue this sort of content. Also, shout out to the following channel members: Oppenheimer, Something Something YouTube, and Potato King for being gold members. If you want to receive a shout out like these channel members here, then become a silver member or higher today. Becoming a channel member supports what I do in a way that helps keep the lights on, and channel members receive an exclusive role in my Discord server, for which you can find a link to in the description down below. Anyways, I hope you have a wonderful day.